What is going on, everybody? My name is Nathan ELEMENTofFROST. Welcome back to another episode review video for The Walking Dead. This one's doing on last night's episode of The Walking Dead. This is Season 5, Episode 14, entitled Spend. I do apologize, guys. I still am sick. I have some fucking sinus congestion bullshit going on. And obviously I don't sound the greatest, but the show must go on. The show must go on. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyways, moving on to the episode review now. Obviously, I did predict in last week's prediction video for this week's upcoming episode of The Walking Dead that there was going to be a lot of things going on. There's going to be confrontations. There was going to be, questionable things inside Alexandria that would make the group kind of question, whether or not it's safe there. Whether or not the people that were already there are obviously up to the task at hand to survive out in the world and to survive outside those walls, which we learn in this episode that they are not. They are clearly not. They are 100% not ready whatsoever. And we get to find out through a few people, and unfortunately a few deaths as well. This episode was sad to me. It really was. It was a great episode. As always, this episode was actually really, really well written. Compared to the last couple episodes we've seen, the last couple episodes obviously have been of the group in Alexandria. Not really much action going on at all. They kind of took a break from all that, and they kind of was just living a normal life. Well, this episode, definitely not. This episode was back to the heart-wrenching and everything like that The Walking Dead usually is. And the reason why that is because they needed to go on a run. That's right, they needed to go outside the walls to get supplies because the power grid of Alexandria actually went down. The power grid of Alexandria went down, and they needed to get the supplies to fix it, basically. Okay, so start of the episode now. Gabriel, Father Gabriel, obviously he's in side of his makeshift Alexandria church, I guess. He finds a gift basket full of strawberries, accompanied by a note that says, "Father, we are so blessed to have you." Gabriel, now feeling guilty, basically tears up his Bible and shreds his Bible, basically in frustration. He doesn't really think of himself anymore as like a blessed father. He doesn't really think of himself anymore as a guy that is innocent enough to be a priest, and he kind of just, that's why he kind of is like, you're not blessed to have me, and he shreds his Bible up. At least that's what I got out of it. That's what I took from it. Now, it is hard to talk when you're plugged up. I'll tell you what, it sucks. It sucks dick. Noah now meets Reg in a gazebo, and he asked Reg to teach him basically about architecture. And Reg is Deanna's husband, the guy who built the walls around Alexandria. Noah now meets with him, and he asked him to teach him about architecture. He basically explains, you're not going to be around forever, and I think it'd be great, if you start teaching me, how to keep the walls standing, how to build walls, how to build things. And it's a very good, very, very, very good sort of thing for Noah to do. Obviously, there should be more than one person that knows how to build things. There definitely should be. Because, Reg isn't going to be around forever, obviously. That's kind of what the old world used to do. They used to obviously have these occupations, and they used to teach more people about how to do those occupations, how to do what you need to do in order to survive. That's they kind of keep the job living by keep teaching newer people, to do the job. So that's what Noah's basically asking Reg, or I don't know, whatever you want to call his name. It's R-E-G. I think it's Reg. To do, basically. It's a very smart move by Noah's part. And, yeah, anyways. He wants to keep the community standing, basically, for future generations. Reg basically says, you're in it for the long haul. Noah says yes. He gives Noah a journal to basically chronicle everything that he learns. Uh, he basically says that this is the beginning and you should record that. Like all that, rather. Anyways, back to Abraham now. He's inside a house. He splashes water on his face while Rosita and everybody else sleeps. He stares at his reflection in the mirror, pretty much like really anxiously. Like I think he's kind of debating, can I go back? He's done some pretty horrible things in the past. He's knocked the shit out of Eugene. There's definitely things that he's done there that he's not proud of. And I think he's just staring at his reflection like, can I go back to what I was before all this? Can I go back to what I was before losing my family and everything like that? And that's what I think he's staring in the mirror for. Now, a group are meeting now outside the walls. Aiden, Glenn, Tara, Noah, Eugene, and Nicholas. They're all gearing up for a supply run to find parts to fix broken solar panels. Like I said, the power grid went down. It was showing problems, everything like that, blah, blah, blah. They drive off, a van blasting Aiden's sort of dubstep music, They're in this van, and they kind of hit off, and they're blasting dubstep music. Which, for one, I thought it was kind of funny last night on The Talking Dead. Chris Hardwick was kind of wondering why dubstep survived the apocalypse. He could have literally been playing anything else that's better than dubstep. Pretty much literally anything else. So yeah, they kind of drive off. Going back to Rick now. Rick finds Jessie in her garage picking up the remains of the owl sculpture that Rick knocked over one time. Anyway, she's picking up the remains of this owl sculpture that was vandalized. Someone did this. I don't know who it was. Obviously, Rick doesn't know who it was, but he is a police officer. He does resolve these confrontations now. That's kind of his job. And that's what he's planning on doing, So he basically offers to find out who destroyed the sculpture. Aiden's crew now arrives at the warehouse. Glenn suggests that all exits basically be cased before entering, everything like that. They want to find out if all the exits are available to them, if they're all safe, and everything like this. So they all kind of split up. They all kind of case the exits and everything like that. Aiden agrees with Glenn. Nicholas, he kind of scoffs the idea, being a dickhead that he is, sort of, but Aiden sort of agrees with him this time. At least Aiden agrees with him this time. They obviously had a pretty big confrontation the last time they went on a little scavenging run. Obviously they had that little ordeal with the walker that they were trying to string up on a tree, and Tara almost got killed, and everything like that. Glenn got pissed off, punched one guy in the face, blah 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 blah. Now, anyways, as Tara walks the warehouse perimeter with Eugene, she suggests that he start pulling his weight, kind of, and Eugene reminds her that he's basically a huge ass coward. And she kind of accepts that, but in a way she has to, she's realizing that, you're not a benefit to our group anymore. Because you can't get us to Washington, and, you can't cure the world. You can't do this, anymore. That's not a thing. You're not a scientist. So you gotta stop. You gotta start pulling your weight. That's what you gotta do. And she accepts that, but Eugene still is having a very, very hard time at this point, which I don't blame him. Obviously, if you're not good at any of that, and all you ever did was hide behind people, it would take some time. Anyways, Glenn and Noah now spot a herd of walkers by the front entrance. Glenn basically says, we're not getting out of the front. Inside the warehouse now, Aiden's team wanders through the aisles of boxes and comes across a cage full of walkers. Tara and Eugene, meanwhile, now they're finding the parts to fix the panels. They actually come across the boxes, and they actually get the right parts across. A walker now in riot gear approaches Aiden. Aiden opens fire. Glenn spots a grenade on the walker's chest and yells for Aiden to stop. He basically, yells at Aiden, stop firing, but it's way too late. He shoots the grenade, unfortunately, and the grenade explodes. After this part now, Glenn comes to, and everybody's hurt, including Tara. Everything like that. Everybody else is getting up just fine, but Tara is hurt, and she is hurt badly. Okay, and Glenn comes to, and he sees Aiden that is impaled on a piece of machinery. There's two things sticking kind of out of him that he kind of got impaled by. He's standing upright. They assume he's dead, but he's not. Noah warns him that the explosion breached the walker cage. So now, obviously, that walker cage, all those walkers are now loose, unfortunately. Glenn orders everyone to run into a nearby office while he grabs Tara, who is unconscious and bleeding on the ground. She's bleeding from the hit, unfortunately. Meanwhile, back in Alexandria now, Carol discovers Sam basically rummaging through her pantry. He begs her to bake more cookies, pushing him out the door. She agrees to bake cookies if he can steal chocolate from the locked-up pantry, sort of near the gun locker. Back at the warehouse now, Aiden groans with pain. We actually get to see that Aiden is actually still alive at this point, even though he is impaled. Excuse me. Aiden is alive, alerting, like I said, he was groaning, alerting the others that he's alive. Glenn orders Nicholas to distract the cage walkers with a flare while he and Noah rescue Aiden. At the mall construction site, or at a mall construction site now, Abraham is actually outside the walls. This is kind of his job, and this was what it was in the comic book as well, which I'm very, very glad to see that it's actually coming together. So, in the comic book and in the TV show, Abraham's job is to basically lead a team, or, he wasn't really leading it, but now he actually, he's kind of taking charge of it now. Abraham is outside the walls, gathering materials and supplies and building and extending on to the wall of Alexandria. That's what his job is. They want to extend this community, and that's what Abraham is doing. That's what his plan is. That's it. That's what Abraham's job is. Rick, obviously, he's an officer. Daryl and Aaron, they are people that they go out and they scout other groups to come in, and everything like that. So, they all have different jobs, and this is Abraham's. He's like a constructor. He's a construction worker, I guess, if you will. Anyways. So Abraham now helps the crew gather materials that will be used to expand Alexandria's wall. Out of basically nowhere now, walkers attack the site and a girl named Francine. The lookout falls from her perch. Tobin, which is actually the crew's leader, before, Abraham takes over, orders his team to fall back and abandon Francine. She's out there kind of trapped by a bunch of walkers. Abraham rushes toward Francine and saves her as the rest of the crew looks on, basically in awe. He saves Francine. He gets her up into a sort of construction type vehicle. Fucking plow type thing. I don't know. I completely lost all train of thought there. But nonetheless, he does save her. He's fighting off walkers basically all by himself. And anyways, back in Alexandria now, Pete stops by Rick's house and offers him a beer, basically to thank him for helping Jesse look for the owl sculpture Vandal. Pete basically says, let's be friends. I know I offered you to come by for a checkup. We actually seen this part in a sneak peek of last week's episode of The Walking Dead. We seen this exact part in a sneak peek. Yeah, it looks like Rick doesn't really like him at all. He's not letting him know that or anything like that. He doesn't want to tip him off. But we all know that Rick does not like Pete. He has this sort of feeling about him. He doesn't know quite what it is right now, what it is yet, but he will very, very soon. Okay, and Pete basically says, let's be friends. We kind of have to. Rick basically turns down the beer, saying, obviously I'm on the job. I don't want to do that or whatever. At the warehouse now, Eugene overcomes his fear and shoots walkers while carrying Tara out to the exit door. So they were going to get Aiden, Glenn, Noah, and Nicholas. They were all going to get Aiden, and they actually left Tara and Eugene in that office room. You know, Eugene was supposed to stay in there and supposed to protect her, but he actually opens the door. He's literally carrying Tara on his back, and he's walking through the building that he's in to get outside, to get to the van. You know, he's actually shooting walkers at this point. Up until this point, we really haven't seen Eugene kill a walker besides the time back in Season 5, all the way back when they were on a trip to Washington, where he kind of stabbed one in the back of the head and then Tara finished him off. You know, that was kind of a walker kill, not very much of one, but now he's literally shooting him in the leg, finishing him off in the head. You know, he's obviously not the best shot at this point, so it's not like a one-shot, one-kill. He's usually taking about 2, maybe 3 bullets to take down a walker. You know, not bad, obviously, for somebody who really hasn't, you know, fired a gun or anything. He has a suppressor on his, so obviously he kind of keeps it quiet. But nonetheless, he is literally supporting Tara at this point. You know, Tara is his basically only friend right now in this apocalypse. You know, it's basically his only ally in a way. You know, even though she knows that he has to start pulling his weight, she's the only one that really understands, you know, him being an outsider and coming into this group. You know, so he has to save her. He has to keep that relationship going. That's what he feels. And so that's what he does. Like I said, he puts her on her back and he gets her out of there. He gets her to the car. And it was very, very, very nice to see Eugene doing that. I actually loved it. 100%, you know, he's developing his character, and it's very, very cool. So, yeah. So, Aiden now screams in pain as Glenn, Noah, and Nicholas unsuccessfully try to extract him basically from that machinery. Nicholas basically gives up and abandons Aiden. Aiden confesses to Glenn that he and Nicholas were the ones who panicked and let their former team members die. You know, they kind of left him there. And not the other way around, you know, like they said it was originally. Noah now pulls Glenn away as the walkers descend and tear Aiden apart. So Aiden now is dead, unfortunately. Obviously, that's Deanna's son, you know. It's probably not going to go over too well, but shit happens, you know. They're on the outside of the walls. They can't be always safe, you know. It's just, that's the reality of it. So that was one death. Meanwhile, Abraham basically now is punishing Tobin for leaving Francine to die. You know, he actually saves Francine. They get all the walkers dead and everything like that. He now takes control of the crew and assigns 2 lookouts. He basically says, you know, we've got to build a wall. Everybody's still good to go. All the walkers are dead, so let's get this done. Let's not take a break because that happened. Let's get this done. Back at Deanna's house now, Tobin resigns basically from his position as head of the construction crew. He basically is letting Deanna and everybody know that Abraham is more qualified. You know, Deanna actually accepts. She's reluctant at first because she doesn't want all this power to go to the new group at first, obviously. But she accepts and afterwards basically expresses a concern to Maggie that, you know, I put another one in your people in a position of power. Maggie basically reminds her that the reason she wanted their group in Alexandria was precisely because they know what they're doing. And you're damn right they do. You know, that they've been out there surviving beyond those walls. You know, they haven't been bundled up behind those walls and close to the life that once was, you know. They know what they're doing, they know how to survive, and it's actually a good thing that people are in power, the ones that know how to survive, because it's better to keep the groups alive. You know, that Abraham being in charge of the construction crew could save a lot of lives. In all honesty, it really could. You know, and it's a very good decision on her part to make it official that Abraham is now the lead of the construction crew. Exactly how it happened in the comic books, and if everything goes to plan, it was not a bad decision. Very, very good indeed. Anyways, Sam now, meanwhile, brings the chocolate that he stole, the contraband, to Carol, and they bake cookies. He admits that he broke his mom's owl sculpture, so he's the one who actually did it. Um, he then asks Carol if he can have one of the guns that she stole, and she basically says, who is it for? He says that it's not for me, it's for somebody else, and she asks who's it for. And at this point, there's starting to be a relationship develop between Carol and Sam. And it's because Carol had this relationship before with her previous husband, Ed, where obviously Ed beat her. That's what happened. He beat her. I'm pretty sure that he beat Sophia as well, unfortunately. And she's pretty sure that that's what's happening to Jesse. That's what's happening to Sam as well, the little kid. So that's why Sam is basically asking for a gun. He obviously wants his mom to protect herself. That's what he wants the gun for. He basically just runs away now after she asked that. He doesn't answer. Obviously, he's scared. Back to Glenn, Noah, and Nicholas. They run for the warehouse exit, and they get trapped in two quadrants of a revolving door. Those doors, they're most often found in like hospitals or malls or something like that, where they kind of swing around. It's literally a revolving door. And there's walkers on one side outside. There's walkers on the inside as well. Okay? And, they're kind of trapped left and right. Noah and Glenn on one side and then Nicholas on the other. Nicholas is a fucking dick, by the way. I just want to throw that out there right now. Walkers, like I said, surrounding them, banging on the glass either side. So that means if they rotate one way, they're safe right now because they're trapped in the glass and there's walkers surrounding them. But if they even move the doors, if they try to get out, they're dead either way. They really are. At this point, they're kind of hopeless. They have no ammo. Eugene pulls up the van to the door and blasts Aiden's music to lure some of the walkers away. That was the walkers on the opposite side of the doors, meaning the ones outside. So now the side of the doors that are outside is now safe to go out. But if you think about it, no matter which way they turn, one person is going towards the walkers on the inside. So how the fuck are they going to do this, Anyways, Glenn basically suggests now that, they hold the doors steady. And Glenn basically forms his plan saying, they want to... He needs to get himself, Noah, and Nicholas out alive. He tries to break his glass, and then obviously Noah could swing the door around and get him, or Nicholas could get him out as well. But Nicholas is panicking. And this is when it comes into play that he doesn't know what he's doing. He hasn't lived outside those walls. He's being a coward. I understand it. I don't want to understand it, but I do understand it. He hasn't lived outside those walls. He's panicking for his life. And he pushes the revolving door open, and he makes a run, basically, to save himself. And while he does this, it basically exposes Noah and Glenn's quadrant to the herd inside the door. They grab Noah by the leg, and Noah and Glenn is holding on to Noah. Noah says, don't let go. He's basically begging Glenn for his life. Noah is pulled from the door, and back inside the, obviously, back inside the building, behind the glass. The glass closes again, leaving Glenn in there safe because they obviously took Noah. And Glenn is literally watching in horror. He can do nothing but watch in horror. He can't get back out there. He can't save Noah because he would be dead too. He's literally... Him and Noah are now between a pane of glass, and Noah is getting torn to bits. Literally, this is one of the most gruesome scenes I've ever actually seen in The Walking Dead. And Glenn is just... All he can do is literally sit there and watch in horror as his friend, as his family gets torn apart right in front of him. Like, I'm talking Walker, like the hands of a walker went into Noah's mouth and just tore his mouth up towards his ear, and it was very, very gruesome. I will be the first to say it. You know, it was kind of cool to see all the special effects, but at the same time, like, if you can just imagine, you know, if that actually happened, how much pain would he be in? Like, that would be insane. It really would. And there was nothing that Glenn could do about it. You know, he literally just, he could only sit there and watch in horror. So Noah is dead. Second death of the episode. This one was gruesome as fuck. Nicholas now sprints to the van and forces Eugene out of the driver's seat, offering him, basically, you know, he basically says, you're coming along, or are you gonna die with your friends? Eugene reaches for his gun, but it's too late, as Nicholas basically throws Eugene down on the ground, kind of kicks his ass for a minute. He gets in the van. He's about to start it. Glenn appears and basically just rips him out of the van, throws him on the ground, and just furiously pummels him. You know, he just killed his friend. You know, he just killed Noah. That's what Nicholas did by being greedy about it and by being just that, a coward. You know, by being a person that just wanted to save himself. You know, he could have waited, and Glenn could have broke the glass on his side, and they could have all got out alive. And then Nicholas killed Noah, basically. You know, didn't physically do it, but he killed Noah. In one way or another, Noah is dead because of Nicholas. And that's why this episode was sad to me. That's why it was kind of heart-wrenching, heartbreaking, really. Because Noah was a character that Beth basically died for. You know, back in the hospital, back in Atlanta. Noah is a character that Beth basically sacrificed herself for. You know, she wanted him to get out alive, get out of that hospital, get away from Dawn. And it happened because Beth died. But, nonetheless, they get Nicholas into the back of the van and everything like that. Carol knocks on Pete's door and asks for Jesse. Pete tells her that it's not a good time and shuts the door in her face. Obviously, now her realizing for sure that, obviously, he is beating them, you know. He basically just says, you know, no, you can't come in, basically. It's not a good time, everything like this. Glenn is now driving the van as Eugene watches over Tara. He also has his gun out to watch over Nicholas as well. Sort of, you know, just to kind of threaten him about it. You know, you try anything, you're dead, basically. And at this point, I think Eugene would kill him. You know, if he actually did try anything in the back of that van. Because he's protecting Tara. You know, that's what he's doing. That's his pride. You know, he likes Tara. That's his friend. And he's protecting her. You know, we don't actually know what happens to Tara right now, because she's still bleeding from the head. She's got her head all wrapped up. And everything like this. And she's not in really good shape. You know, she's really not. Eugene now looks down to see Noah's journal open to the first unfinished entry of the book, obviously, that he got from Reg at the starting of the episode. He wrote down that this is the beginning. That's all he wrote down. And he won't be able to write down anymore. Because he's dead. You know, that's the brutal truth of it. And it sucks. It really does. Because I love Noah's character. I wish we could have got to see more of him, in all honesty. Like, I think it would be great to see more kids kind of growing up, you know, and having the strength to face what's out there in the world, but obviously also having the strength to kind of overcome that and be more beneficial in a way to rebuilding society and, you know, stuff like that. That's why I wish Noah didn't die in this episode, but unfortunately it did. He did, you know, and you can't go back on it, obviously. So now back at Alexandria, I don't really know what to think about this. Father Gabriel visits Deanna, and he's telling her that she should not have let Rick's group into this community. He basically warns her, you know, they're not good people. They've done unspeakable things, probably referring back to episode 3 where they completely slaughter the Terminans inside of his church. Obviously, they've done some shitty things, yes. He says basically, you know, I'm grateful to be here, but you should not have let them in here. He's kind of stabbing them in the back, you know. Rick, oh, excuse me. Rick's group basically saved him. You know, he was up on a rock, and they saved him from walkers. You know, and he's stabbing them in the back now. Obviously, he hasn't done great things either. You know, he locked his church doors to keep people out. He locked his church doors, and that caused people's deaths. You know, he's not all innocent in this either, but that's what he wants them to basically believe. And, yeah. Anyways, he's basically stabbing them back. I don't really know what to think of it. You know, I really don't. Gabriel insists that the group will eventually put their own lives before hers and destroy everything that she has built. While this conversation is going on, Maggie is overhearing basically the entire exchange. Really. She was coming up the stairs at the exact moment he walked in, and she kind of just stayed silent about it. Back at home now, Carol tells Rick that Pete is hitting Jesse and probably Sam too. Rick kind of knows this already. Like, he had a feeling that, you know, Pete was obviously not a good guy. You know, that Pete was actually doing something. And she basically tells him not to arrest him, not to do anything like that like a police officer would do. She basically says to him, you have to kill him. You're going to have to kill him. And I think that's taking things to a little bit of an extreme. But you definitely got to catch him in the act. Obviously, if he wants to be a trustworthy police officer, and not have Deanna think of him as just a savage because obviously of what Gabriel said to her as well, he's gonna have to catch him in the act, and then obviously do something about it from that point of view. You know, outside the walls, killing him would totally work. You know, I would be totally down for it too. And hell, I would be totally down for it too inside the walls, you know, but, that would cause distrust, in my opinion, between Deanna and Rick and everything like that. So I think he's gonna have to find another way to handle it. I don't think he's actually gonna kill Pete, but he probably will beat the shit out of him. You know, he honestly probably will. I could definitely see that happening, at least. But other than that, I don't really know what's gonna happen next. But I will have my episode predictions for this week's upcoming episode of The Walking Dead. This week's upcoming episode of The Walking Dead will be Season 5, Episode 15, entitled Try. Only 2 episodes, guys. Only 2 episodes left, 15 and 16. And they're airing very soon. So, predictions will go up as follows on March 19th. My predictions for Season 5, Episode 15, entitled Try, will be going up then. So definitely stick around on the channel and check that out when that is available. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm very close to 1,000. Hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, feel free to hit the video with a like. Tell me in the comment section below what you guys thought of last night's episode. Did you guys like it? What do you think could have went on instead of maybe Noah dying? Or did you think Noah's death was kind of appropriate? I don't know. I still really don't know. I'd like to see more of Noah, but obviously not going to happen. You kind of got to move on, kind of got to accept it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Bye, guys.